I was watching some TV last night. One of the things I happened to look at was a program about the moon landings. It was an anniversary, 40-year anniversary of moon landings. And it was presented by Brian Cox, Dr. Brian Cox, who's a well-known television presenter here in the UK. He's also a physicist, and he's well known for being incredibly enthusiastic about science, about physics, and he's done various programs on just how amazing the natural world is and the wonders of this solar system. He's a very enthusiastic, passionate person, and he's passionate about science, about space, about nature. I don't know if he's got religious views or religious beliefs, but the other thing I happened to watch was a news report on the beginning of the Hajj. The Hajj is the annual pilgrimage that many Muslims at some point in their life are obliged to make to Mecca in Saudi Arabia. And it's quite an amazing sight to see all these pilgrims in their white robes performing the rituals that they do. And there was an interview with one particular Haji, one particular pilgrim, and he was a recent convert to Islam, and he was reduced to tears. He's overwhelmed by the beauty of Islam and the experience of being there on the Hajj. And there's no doubt it's wonderfully enriching. If you have any kind of passion in your life, whether it's a passion for science, for scientific understandings, passion for nature, or you have this strong sense of perhaps closeness to God, or even perhaps ecstatic feelings inspired by your religious belief. Well, these are all mindsets. They are ways of relating to our existence mentally and emotionally. That's what I mean by a mindset. It's a mental and emotional way of relating to our own existence, to the fact that we're alive. We look for meaning. We can look for meaning in many different ways. And two of the ways that we can characterize are the scientific way or the religious way. There are other possibilities, but we'll just stick with these two for now. I've mentioned previously the artistic way, but we'll leave that for now. The way of the artist. So they are mindsets. They're ways of relating to the world, mentally and emotionally. And it can be very enriching, and it's good to have such a mindset in your life. But the teachings that are being presented here in this channel, in this text, the Lankavatara Sutra, are pointing us to something beyond any mindset, beyond whether scientific or religious. And the Buddha, in the previous verses, was actually attacking these mindsets, which maybe seems a bit un-Buddha-like. But the point is, as wonderful as these mindsets are, and as enriching as they can be in our lives, they also have limitations. And this is what we're being asked to look at. Don't just assume that these mindsets are all good. There are side effects. In this teaching being presented here, we talk about enlightenment practice. We practice enlightenment. And you cannot practice enlightenment if you're identified with any particular mindset. So the Buddha was attacking these two mindsets, the scientific mindset and the religious mindset, because they can hamper enlightenment. They encourage identification with particular worldviews. The worldview of the scientist or of the scientific mindset is that this is what is real out there. This is reality. If we examine it, we can get to the truth. When you put it like that, it doesn't make much sense, but that is the ultimate, that is the scientific mindset. This is what's real. Focus on the physical world. The physical world includes our body and our minds actually, or our brains anyway. So the problem with this way of thinking, as far as the Buddha is concerned, is it validates the reality of the world. The scientific mindset validates the reality of the world. And if you're caught up in that, mindset, then enlightenment's not a possibility. You need to let go of it. You can still have your passion and enthusiasm for space or scientific understanding, but the point here is to get it into perspective. We can enjoy the drama without mistaking the drama for reality. And the other mindset the Buddha attacked was the religious one, the one that believes in an individual soul, because this is the concern of religion. It's concerned with the well-being of the individual soul, not just in this life, but particularly in the afterlife. It doesn't matter whether you're Muslim, Christian, Buddhist. There's a great concern about the fate of your immortal soul. And the problem with this, as far as enlightenment practice is concerned, is it's focusing on the idea of the reality of the individual. It's giving substance to this notion that I, as an individual, have some centrally important fundamental reality, and that somehow life is all about my soul or other people's souls. So this can be a big problem. Now what the Buddha was actually attacking was, he was attacking two philosophies. The Vaisheshika philosophy, which is, as far as we're concerned today, is the scientific outlook, and the Samkhya philosophy, which we can understand as the religious outlook, or the scientific mindset and the religious mindset. So this is what we have to step back from, and this is what the Buddha has been challenging. Now, as I say, I think it is good to actually have these things in your life. You don't have to drop your passion for scientific understanding or drop your religious way of thinking. What we have to do is appreciate how these things, and this is true of almost all of us, how these mindsets have affected our own mindset. Nowadays we're all affected to some extent by either the scientific mindset or the religious mindset, or some mixture of the two. They're not mutually exclusive by any means. You can be religious and scientific. There are many religious scientists. So this very much determines our mindset, determines our relationship with the world. It determines our mood tone, the tone of our relationship with the world. And in fact, as far as religious mindsets are concerned, it can even be used to justify our moods. We can use it to fuel our moods, our good moods or our bad moods. We're being entangled in particular mindsets, and we need to disentangle ourselves from them. And we do this by not using them to fuel our moods. The scientific mindset can affect us in lots of different ways. We can be very enthusiastic and passionate, like Brian Cox. It's great for him. He's got a job doing this. He's a physicist and presenter. He's presenting these ideas. It's great for him. But where does it leave the rest of us? I think it disempowers us somewhat, because the scientists, they're the new high priests. They know what they're doing. We'll leave it up to them. We'll put our faith in them. Put our faith in science. But how do I fit into this? So you can just substitute that emptiness by being passionate about the ideas. It does affect your mood tone. It affects your mindset. If you identify with being scientific. So we need to be aware of our mindset, the mindset that we identify with. So the Buddha's argument is that there is no external world. There is no individual soul, which isn't something that's going to go unchallenged. And the Buddha appreciates this, and we get some of the arguments against the Buddha's understanding in the next verse. Verse 563. The philosophers may say that if there is no external reality, mind only too will be non-existent. How can mind exist without objective reality? The doctrine of mind only, therefore, is untenable. So this is actually the common scientific view. Mind only is awareness. And the scientific understanding is that awareness depends on the body, on the brain. Without the body, without the brain, there can be no awareness. Consciousness, it's something which, if it exists at all, which is dependent on the brain. And this is quite obvious. You can, if you hit somebody on the head, they'll become unconscious, or put a certain drug into them. Your whole mental life is determined by your physical state, your mental emotional life. If you're not getting sleep, then you get grumpy, or not getting sex maybe, you get grumpy or aggressive. We're really physical beings, and our emotional states can be understood in physical terms. So this is the argument. It's quite convincing, isn't it? The thing is, though, who's responsible for this argument? Where's this argument coming from? It's true. Our moods and so on are related to our bodies. This is one way of understanding, and it's a very practical and useful one. Lead a healthy lifestyle. Don't watch too much TV. Exercise. Diet well. And you'll feel so much better. But again, what is it that is feeling better? What is it that is seeing and hearing things and feeling things? The bottom line is always that there is this awareness going on, or what's called mind only. And it's from mind only that all these ideas of body, of the senses, of an external world, of an individual soul, it's from mind only that all these ideas come from. We can realize this for ourselves. This isn't a philosophical argument. It's something to see for ourselves empirically. If we can come back to the awareness, or realize the awareness which is hearing this. Let's have a look at the next objection. 564. Further, they may say that, on account of an objective world of realities, people's minds are aroused. How can there be a mind without a cause? The doctrine of mind only is therefore untenable. But I pretty much covered this already. People's minds are aroused. Well, this is our moods once again. And our moods are determined by the objective world. But there seems to be a confusion here between mind and mind only. Mind only is generally spelt with a capital M, and mind only is not a doctrine. Mind only is realization of essential awareness. Everything else is simply stories, dramas, mindsets that we identify with. You can argue with this, but that's not the point. The point is to realize awareness. Realize the awareness that is hearing this. And when you do, and if you appreciate it properly, you'll see for yourself that this is what comes first. This is actually what everything else is built on. It's the initial fact that people seem very keen to ignore, because they want to get on with indulging in a particular mindset in accordance with their particular mood patterns or psychological disposition. Verse 565. But suchness and mind only are realities belonging to the teaching of the wise. Neither those who deny nor those who affirm comprehend my teachings. So a very important point here. The Buddha's not actually arguing for mind only. He's saying that mind only and suchness, which I think we could take as indistinguishable, are realities belonging to the teaching of the wise. In other words, wisdom, which is to do not with knowledge or information or intellectual capacity, intellectual debate, is to do with direct seeing. And the Buddha says that neither those who deny nor those who affirm comprehend my teachings. In other words, you don't get into arguments about it. There is no such thing as mind only, as suchness. There is only the realization of it. We cannot say there is such a thing as mind only and then build a philosophy around it. That is missing the point completely. Philosophy here is simply another word for mindset. All philosophies are mindsets. We can identify with these mindsets, with particular worldviews, or we can go beyond them. This is the option we have. It's an extraordinary and incredible option. If you're happy with identifying with a particular mindset, then go for it. Nothing is being sold here. But I'm assuming if you're listening to this video, then you're wanting to go a little bit deeper. Or perhaps you're seeing the limitation of your usual mindsets. All mindsets arise in awareness. And what we're concerned here with is realizing this awareness, appreciating this awareness. And you don't have to do anything. This awareness is what is happening right now as you listen to these words. Bring these words back to where they're happening. Stop projecting them out here as if they're coming from an external source. These words are happening right where you are, right where awareness is. It's a big thing, a very big thing. It's also an everyday thing. Realizing it, there might be consequences for your adherence to certain mindsets. But let that unfold as it may.